Hello once again and welcome to programme 6 of this current series of Subs Bench. We're glad you'll be able to join us on both Facebook and YouTube. We're going to be talking all things Bristol football in the next 20 minutes or so, and we're going to be paying tribute to not only Buster Footman but also to David Mayhew, the former Rovers striker, who is our guest interviewee this week. And joining me on the line as ever is Richard Latham from his home in Portishead. You've still got the books there, so it looks like you're keeping them nice and tidy. So well done for that. Nice to see you, Rich. How's the week been?
I hope we didn't shock David Mayhew's family then when you said we're not going to be paying tribute to Buster, but also to David Mayhew. He's very much alive.
He's a legend in his own. He's a legend in his own lifetime. He certainly is. Yeah.
No, it's been an interesting week, and then obviously the Buster's funeral on Thursday was a you can't say a highlight because it's always a sad occasion, but amazing that the number of people who turned out for him. And see them gather at Ashton Gate at a time when we're still observing social distancing and everything, which was done perfectly well. But it was great to see the numbers that turned out, and it really was a special afternoon. Yeah,
because it's the first time I've seen you face to face, so to speak, since the lockdown. And as you say, the City fans were very respectful, weren't they? They lined up all along outside. They waited patiently for the funeral cortege to arrive, and when it did, spontaneous applause. It was amazing, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a really good idea to drive in off Winchester Road into the ground, into the car park, go along Marina Dom and there along the side of the ground, because it enabled everyone to spread out. And as you say, as soon as the drive started entering the ground, then the applause broke out. In fact, they stopped then, the cortege, and the applause continued for a long, long time before it started going again. People kept the applause going all the way through as the cortege went past. And I'm sure his family were touched by it, because it was a tremendous response to a tremendous man.
Yeah, and of course you got the opportunity to talk to 4 of the former City players who were tended to by Buster. So let's hear what they had to say.
Having a wonderful turnout to pay tribute to Buster. Your memories of him?
My memories of Buster is he was an absolute gentleman. I sort of went under his wing a few times while I was here at City, and he got me through a few injuries, and he got me through the rehab, and he was like I say, top physio, old school but fantastic man.
Famed, of course, for the t-shirts on the coldest of days. He was a tough guy, wasn't he?
He was a tough guy. Well, he was a Royal Marine, so I don't think there's many soft Royal Marines about.
But his charity work speaks for itself.
It does, yeah. I sort of, when I was down here on the coaching staff, I sort of did a collection a few times for the Remembrance Day, and obviously would pass it on to Buster, sell a few poppies and pass it on to Buster. And his other charity work, it was fantastic.
Well, first off, what an amazing turnout for the great man himself. And my recollections of him, Paul, where'd you start? Everything from him being physio to putting ultrasound gel on his phone that then gets all over his ear, to him running you up and down a Dolman stand anytime you're injured, to him seeing him abseiling to raise money for local charities, and for him talking about his Royal Marines. But if you mentioned he was in the Marines, he'd let you know very quickly it was the Royal Marines. So listen, there's just endless memories of a man who was just out there to help people, either recover from injury, illness, whatever it was. It was always to support and help and aid people. And I think the turnout today is just a testament to him.
I was just driving here today thinking about Buster and thinking about how positive he was around the club and all the players. And I was here for 8 years, and he was there the whole time as a physio, and such a, like I say, positive, upbeat, tough guy, but never, like I said to you before, he never, when you were injured, sort of made you feel that you had to be out there. He was sensitive with you, a great man, real great man.
I remember first coming here, and I think Buster was, anybody knows him, proper old school geezer. I think everyone knows him about his white t-shirt on. He was probably one of the toughest geezers I knew. I think ex-Marine, just wanted to fight everybody.
Ex-Royal Marine.
No, Royal Marine, sorry. And as I said, he was tough as old boots, as they say. And there was loads of times pre-season he'd been running up the steps at the Dome, as I said, loads of stories. Him playing his wartime songs before games, Roll Like the Barrel. One of them he was famous for. he said he brought a smile to a lot of people's faces.
He was obviously a really good physio and of his time, but what an ambassador for the club in the charity work.
A different class, I think. I remember him coming in with the sponsorship for the old Kilimanjaro shout, and listen, everyone was more than happy to donate a hell of a lot of money to him, and as I said, he was just Buster, was he? He was a different class.
So some great tributes there to Buster Footman, and really nice to see, Richard, how, as you hinted before, the family appreciated the numbers who turned out, because Rick Footman posted on our Facebook page, "Hi, I would just like to say thanks to each and every person who took time out to give Dad a fantastic send-off. People lined the streets right up to South Bristol Creme, many of them in city red or a t-shirt. It was just amazing to see so many people, and I'd also like to thank you all for your kind words and messages. Take care, hope to see you at a game soon." So from the family, that's a great response. There were loads of other comments on our Facebook page as well. Immediately after that one from Rick was Jenny Hyde, who said, "Rick Footman, what a lovely send-off. Rick, you did your dad proud." And I think they certainly did, didn't they? The family did, and all the City fans did by turning out as well.
Yeah, what I didn't know from that message was that the lines continued all the way to the crematorium. I mean, it means it was an incredible number of people, because there was a lot at Ashton Gate, and if they were still lining the streets all the way between Ashton Gate and the crematorium, then, you know, again, it was an incredible tribute to an amazing guy.
Yeah, so sad times. Let's move across the city now, and to before we hear from David Mayhew, he's coming up in a moment. We'll be hearing about Rovers at Wembley in 1990, David's memories of that. Before that, though, the surprise news of the week, really, the announcement by Bristol Rovers that they're going to go ahead with their training ground, the Colony, there by the M5, which they've had the land for years now, haven't they? But they've finally given it the go-ahead, which is, as I say, surprising, particularly in the current financial situation.
Yeah, all I can say is I went out there when the actual land was purchased, or the announcement of the land being purchased, and I remember there was some Rovers people out there, and the press went out there that day, and my first impression was, wow, there is a lot of work to be done here. It's basically a wilderness area in a way, and you know, even to put pitches down, you know, there's going to be a lot of work involved. But hey, let's be grateful that Rovers are starting to do something else somewhere. I mean, I'm sure the supporters are thinking, you know, with all the stadium plans that have fallen through, you know, then the training ground bought and not being developed, you know, they must be, you know, thinking, well, at least possibly this is a bit of positive news, when they haven't had too much in the last year or two.
No, but the timing of it particularly surprising, I think. But hey ho, let's wish them luck and hope that for whenever next season starts, whenever that may be, that those facilities will be ready for them. So that will be good.
Absolutely, because a training ground is a massive thing for a club. You know, Bristol City have been developing the one they've got out at Fayland, and to I think every club now is starting to realise how having, you know, some good training facilities of their own is a massive thing when it comes to attracting players. And finance for the club. You know, it's a big thing to have your own training ground, and yeah, certainly wish Rovers well with it.
Well, let's talk now to a player who, of course, used to go along and train first at Hambrook for Rovers, and then at the Cadbury's factory at Keynsham with the porter cabins and everything else. That's David Mayhew, and of course, he's always been a very popular Rovers player ever since he arrived from Leeds United. And when we had him on the programme just under a year ago, in fact. We've had him on several times. We inevitably asked him how he got that nickname Boris.
Well, my first year with Rovers, we're down at Eastfield, and Bobby Gould had signed myself and John Scales, I think we're going to chat about later, and that was the year that Boris came on the scene at Wimbledon. And back in the day, we used to look quite similar with the same style of hair, and didn't know him, and that's where it started. Some
viewers now might think it was somebody completely different, the younger viewers anyway.
Yeah, Daniel Craig or something, I don't know.
You were any good at tennis? Did you ever look like him on the tennis court?
Yeah, I was a county player actually. My mum was a PE teacher, and my dad, when he was alive, was very sporty. And anything with the ball. Yeah, I was a county tennis player. I wasn't one of the better ones, but there was a guy called Paul Hand who he did play at Wimbledon, but he was sort of the best around in the Berkshire area where I was from.
Right. You mentioned John Scales, and we did want to start by talking to you about the circumstances of you coming to Rovers, and you both arrived pretty much at the same time, didn't you?
Yeah, well, it was from a City link actually. Tony Thorthorpe was the chief scout at Bristol Leeds then, and Keith Mincher, who was also part of the City fold years later, was our youth manager. And basically, Rovers were on a tour, and Bobby Gould was chatting to Tony Thorthorpe on the boat, and he said, "Have you got any players that have been released?" And he said, "Well, there was two that were released. One was John Scales, who Bobby Gould didn't know, and who were unlucky, and the other one was myself, who he knew because when I was living in Berkshire, my Sunday team, I played with Jonathan Gould, who was an outfield player then, and from that, Bobby Gould gave my mum and dad a call, and it basically came down from there."
1985. I actually do remember you arriving, because the two of you arrived at Hambrook, didn't you? The old
That's
Hambrook
right,
training
yeah.
ground. I remember interviewing you actually for Radio Bristol, and
Yeah.
I can't believe where those years have gone, to be honest.
Yeah. And Gary Penrice had just signed, and Lee Howes as a apprentice back in the day. So there was a picture of the four of us, and Nicky Tanner just signed as well.
And was Alan Ball there at that time?
No. Byron Stevenson was the sort of main name that came up, and I was a Leeds fan.
Yeah.
And he had left Leeds when I was there, but there was he signed, and Kenny Hibbett signed as a player manager. Yeah.
Of course, John.
Coach.
Yeah.
You both did well at Rovers, it goes without saying, but John went on to even greater things. And did you ever keep in touch with him? Were you surprised for a start that he went off and played at the level he did? No,
not really, because he was a good athlete. It was the era when good athletes were coming in, and I think Scales would be the first to me. He wasn't the best player we had technically, but he was an athlete, and not a lot got past him, and he did go on to do well. Apparently, he said that Bobby Gould had said he was going to give me a year and come and get me, but unfortunately that never happened. It's probably just being nice. I did bump into him a couple of months ago and just said hello. But yeah, I haven't seen him for years.
Were you particularly mates at Leeds, or did it just happen you both ended up at Rovers?
No, not really. He was 3 or 4 years older, and we both stayed in digs in Bristol, and it was at Larry Lloyd's mum's house in Bishopthorpe Road at the top of Horfield. I always park there when I don't get a car park space at Rovers, but he wanted to sort of go and live in his own house. I was only 18, 19, so he ended up getting quite friendly with Percy, who you've already
Phil
had
Burnell,
on, Phil Burnell, and he got quite friendly with him.
Brilliant. Well, we're going to talk to you about the 1989-90 season, but we're not going to talk to you about promotion and beating Bristol City to the title, because we've been over that ground a fair few times, done that, ticked the box. What we're going to talk to you about is Wembley.
Yeah.
A Bristol Rovers team at Wembley, 32,000 Bristol Rovers fans going to watch the game against Tranmere. But first of all, I want to talk to you about the build-up to it, and you had a big hand to play in getting Rovers to Wembley.
Yeah, are you on about Notts County game? Yeah,
the semi-final.
The semi-final, yeah, it was 2 legs. First leg was at home, second one was away. As a goal scorer, you want to score goals, and I did want to score in the tie. But obviously, the main thing was we won it, and it was a tight game, and it looked like it was heading for a draw. And then Jerry, I remember, I think he put Chris McLean on, and he took Andy Rees off in midfield to keep me on because he wanted to get a goal. So that was great management from him. He had done that occasionally, but it was a cup game, so I'd gone into the middle for the last 15, 20 minutes, whatever it was, and we got a corner, and from that Ian Holloway corner, Devon flicked it on. It was one of our planned moves, and it was up to then myself and Carl Saunders, I think, who was playing, to get on the end of it, and luckily it came to me, and I got it in, and it was a scruffy goal, but what a great goal for all us Gasheads, because that eventually took us to the final. The second leg was again, very close game. That 3,500 Rovers fans up there, singing away and everything. We looked comfortable all night, and then Phil Stant, right at the end, scored a goal, getting above Jeff Twentyman. It was a foul. He did have his arms all over him, but Neil Warnock wasn't happy about that. And,
the referee ruled it out.
Yeah, it was ruled out. Great refereeing. I think it was Brian Hill who was the referee that got slammed for not giving a penalty when we played Liverpool. So it was the same ref, which not people seem to remember.
They remember him for the other one.
Yeah, they remember him for the other one, but I'm pretty sure I'm right in saying that. And Well, we went on to Wembley and obviously had a great day out for the Rovers.
Do you remember a Warnock rant afterwards then? Was there
Well, the rant came in the first game. We'd played earlier in the season, and the Rovers fans on the popular side will remember this. There was a bit of a to-do between myself and Charlie Palmer, who I ended up playing with at Walsall. And it sort of kicked off a little bit, handbags at 10 paces. And then later on in the game, I was a bit fired up. I did do a late tackle on Dean Yates, and he got hurt and he was out for 3 months. And he was one of their sort of talisman players, and obviously it'd been like Steve Yates missing for us. And Warnock wasn't well known then, but he came in the bar after, and I was chatting to my mum and dad as I did in the FOB lounge every game, and he started having a right go at me. And two of their players, Dean Yates, I think it was, and Dean Thomas, sorry, and Charlie Palmer pulled him away, who I sort of got on all right with, and did do after our careers were over. And he was just Neil Warnock, and Jerry sort of pulled him up on it and said, "Don't do that to my players," in later on that year.
Okay, let's move on to the game then. Tranmere, I think I'm right in saying you'd done the double over them in the league, so did you think you were favourites going into it?
I think we were seen as the favourites, and we wanted to win, and Jerry was a winner, and he hadn't lost too many games as Wembley, as he told us, and all that, we wanted to win the game. Looking back, don't get me wrong, we wanted to win the game, but it's nice to be there as well, and you only sort of look back now and think, oh, what a great double that could have been.
Do you remember walking out and seeing the Rovers, 30-odd thousand Rovers fans? Yeah,
there was 30-odd Rovers fans, and again, that got the adrenaline going, especially with the thigh. And as we came out, because we weren't allowed on the pitch before too early, so they were all there, and they were up the far end from the tunnel, famous tunnel, and it was fantastic seeing all them, and then you turn around and there was 15,000.
I think I'm right in saying there was a charity game or something on the field before, wasn't it? Didn't Bobby Moore play and players like that? And it was a celebrity sort of game.
There was definitely something going on because there was a time scale of what we could do, and obviously with my thigh, I wanted to get out early to get it warm, but I couldn't do that, so I was in the tunnel trying to do my bit to get warm, because that's what I thought would get me through.
When we interviewed Vaughan Jones about the same game, he showed us his prized possession, which is a picture of him with Sir Stanley Matthews, who was the guest of honour, wasn't he? So presumably you shook hands with Sir Stanley, did you?
Yeah, with Stanley, and I thought, I wasn't wearing the number 7, but I was obviously playing on the side that he did. But yeah. Did
he say anything to you? Can you remember?
No, not to me. No. I think he just shook everyone's hand, and we were so nervous, just sort of moved on.
You were pretty nervous. So take us through the game then briefly. How did it go?
Well. We started the game well. We had a couple of chances, normal way, a flick on from Devon, and then whoever trying to get on the end of it. And then I think what cost us the game, I don't know if you can remember, Ian Alexander got injured from a bad tackle from Ian McNabb, who was their sort of talisman in midfield. And it ended up with Andy Rees, who was playing in midfield. He had to go to right back. This is Jerry's speed of thought. I went into the middle, and Paul Nixon, who had a good game, came in on the right-hand side. And so we lost our shape a little bit.
How early was that in the game?
20 minutes, 18, 20 minutes on it, something like that. So, disaster for everyone, really. Muir scored a goal, didn't he? Ian Muir scored to put them 1-0 up. Good goal scorer, always did well against us. And then I think we equalised, didn't we? We got back in the game second half. We started to take over. Paul Nixon was doing really well on the right hand side. Devon went up for a header, and it fell to him, and then he scored. So that was 1-1. I think brilliant. We'll go on from here. And then we had a chance. I think Carl Saunders went through, and it was probably a penalty. Ref didn't give it. Was it Bodenham? Didn't give the penalty. We weren't happy about that, and 2 minutes later I think they went up the field and scored, and Jim Steele won the winner. And I was going mad because I was in the middle of the pitch, obviously, because I'd got into the midfield, and he has given it a little nudge in the back on Jeff, and bear in mind it was a little lofted ball, and he's headed it in with Jeff on the floor, and you couldn't even see it on the telly, but he did it.
So you weren't going...
No. I went and had I think I remonstrated with Bodenham, who wasn't
clever play though. If that had been you, you'd have thought I did well.
Still, but you'd like to think the ref could have seen something like that, because he was just on the floor. You know, it wasn't that type of the player got in front of him and did that, but clever play.
David Boris Mayhew with his memories of that fantastic year of 1990. We could have spoken and did speak to him about winning the league that year, but we just thought it would be nice to talk about the Wembley experience as well. And he was very modest there, isn't he? Because he was a much better player than he lets on these days.
Absolutely, a very key member of that team, and yeah, I mean, the thing about Boris was he could score from wide and he could score from up front, and he was a goal scorer, and as you say, a very important member of that Bristol Rovers team.
Yeah, so some great memories from Boris. That just about brings us to the end of the show for this week. Next week we'll be back, of course, with more City and Rovers memories. Who do you think we'll pick out from the archive? We've got a lot to choose from, haven't we?
I always leave it up to you, and you've got it right pretty much so far.
Oh, that's the most praise I've ever had from Mr. Latham for a long, long time. Anyway, good to see you. It was good to see you in person, albeit in sad circumstances at Ashton Gate earlier in the week. And look forward to talking to you again in 7 days' time, Rich.
Absolutely.